When I started this channel in March of 2020, I always knew that I would get around to reviewing the Mel Brooks comedy classic Blazing Saddles. Because the entire landscape has now shifted what you can and cannot talk about, let me preface this review by saying this. Blazing Saddles is awesome. If you have a problem with the content of this film, okay. Thank you so much for checking out the review. Before we get started, click on that red subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you know whenever I post a new video. You can also follow me over on twitch.tv/HometownZero, where I stream gaming content on a regular basis. Mel Brooks has provided us with some of the funniest moments in movie history. Whether it's Rick Moranis' Dark Helmet or the abnormal brain from Young Frankenstein, his ability to flip a genre on its head, break the fourth wall, and wink directly at the audience is unmatched. Brooks' 1974 comedy Blazing Saddles isn't just the funniest movie under his belt, it manages to be one of the funniest films ever made, period. Taking place in 1874 on the Western frontier, the movie starts off with a 2-minute long credit sequence, and within 1 minute of that, we get our first pair of racial slurs. This is something that will continue during the course of this movie. A group of black men are building a railroad through the desert, but the small town of Rock Ridge stands in the way. One of these black men, Bart, is saved from a hilarious execution by the state's Attorney General Hedley Lamar and Governor William J. Lepetamain. Their plan? To make Bart the first black sheriff of Rock Ridge, thereby pissing off the locals and forcing them to abandon the town, allowing construction on the railroad to proceed. The super racist townspeople take the news just about as well as you would expect and direct all sorts of hatred and anger towards their new sheriff. Wild shenanigans ensue, and the movie is one long string of sex jokes, slapstick comedy, puns, and very dark humor. Brooks originally wanted Richard Pryor to play the role of Sheriff Bart, but the studio shot it down due to his history of drug arrests and the fear that he would be unreliable. He did, however, ultimately stay on as one of the film's main writers. The role ultimately went to Cleavon Little, who proves to be both extremely likable and perfectly empathetic as the town punching bag. Little nails the naivety of a man who believes he can use his kind nature to win over the racist townsfolk, a task that proves nearly impossible for the first half of the movie. As soon as he starts his very first day in Rock Ridge, Bart encounters a pathetic, drunken loser that's hanging off the side of his bunk bed in the jail cell. Enter Jim, aka the Waco Kid, an absolutely fantastic character played by the comedic genius Gene Wilder. Does the movie tell us that much about him? No. Do we know why he's sitting in a jail cell in the first place? Of course not. None of that stuff even matters. Jim is just as shocked as the townsfolk to wake up from his drunken stupor and find a black sheriff standing over him. Before we even get around to seeing him fire a gun, he puts his arm around Bart and explains a very sad truth. People who would judge others by their skin color, people who would treat people differently for something they cannot change, those people are just morons. A fantastic supporting cast also provides a plethora of hearty laughs. Slim Pickens as Taggart, Madeline Kahn as Lily Von Stoop, Liam Dunn as Reverend Johnson, all great. Harvey Korman's Hedley Lamar gets an extremely specific reference to the 1930s, as pretty much everyone gets him confused with actress Hedy Lamar. It's a joke that's so period appropriate that you probably wouldn't understand it unless I explained it to you, which I just did. You're welcome. That joke allows me to seamlessly transition into talking about another element of Blazing Saddles that's played to great effect. The amount of fourth wall breaking that happens in this movie is insane. Real life figures are constantly referenced. Taggart literally says, "What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on here?" As a direct homage to the famous ABC sports series. Heck, the climax of the film has a massive fist fight between all the characters in which they accidentally crashed through the wall into an adjacent Warner Brothers lot where Dom DeLuise is directing a fictional movie called The French Mistake. After that, Bart and Jim end up chasing Hedley into a movie theater showing, you guessed it, Blazing Saddles. I mean, seriously guys, Deadpool did a pretty good job breaking the fourth wall, but that's mostly just references to other Marvel characters and Ryan Reynolds talking to the camera. Blazing Saddles takes this to an entirely different level. Also, fun little fact, Monty Python and the Holy Grail was released 1 year after Blazing Saddles and features a very similar ending which breaks the fourth wall too. How about that? One other interesting little side note, Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein both came out in 1974. Pretty amazing that we got to see Mel Brooks' two best movies with Gene Wilder in the exact same year. Blazing Saddles is a movie that contains all manner of racially charged language and themes, which is kind of the point. It's about mocking and belittling racism and bigotry while also overcoming or transforming the people who hold such views. It's also in the film's favor that it happens to be very, very, very funny. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to the channel. You can also like and share the reviews, since that tells YouTube my channel is worth promoting. Sound off down in the comments, pay your 10 cents to the William J. Lepetamine Tollway, and I'll see you next Wednesday at 9 a.m.